Stream is starting. Okay. So hello everyone, this is OotiniCast, and we're on episode 348. Did I close my show notes? I think I closed my show notes. So this is going to be the raw version of the episode that goes out on YouTube, and then I will clean up the audio, and it'll go out as a podcast. Let me get my show notes going again, though. So let's do that all right now. Okay, let's see. So we're going to do gonna be pretty much a regular episode for the most part, but then at the end, Dr. SWTOR has a little special thing for us. We're going to do a single boss operation just for fun, and either that will make it into the actual final audio version of the episode or not. I'll make that decision once we've sort of heard what we're doing at that point. So let's see. Let me go ahead and tweet out that our show is going, and then we'll get going with the actual show.
So Chill, the Twitch feed is live, right?
We should be live, yes. In fact, I thought I saw it going live.
Yeah, I see me. Okay. I'm just having trouble getting my channel set up as a host. It's not working. Okay. There we go. Tweeted it out. Let me double check. Do you have Audacity rolling? Good call, Chill. Now I do.
Excellent. Yeah, technically I can do it from the YouTube video when it goes live, but oh boy, it's not as good.
Yeah.
All right. Hey everyone. See everyone in there. Make sure I've got. Okay. Let's see, Doc, you ready then?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
All right. I will get us going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast with a sharp stick and nothing left to lose. This is episode 348, being recorded on Friday, November 23rd, 2018. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Dr. SWTOR. Hey, Doc.
Hi, Chill. Let's get a great positive episode going. Ready to go.
Awesome. And no special guests today, but we are going to do an operation at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. And whether it actually ends up in the audio version of the podcast will determine like after we've done it. Just so you know, though, we are doing it. So if you want to see it, it'll be on the YouTube version. If you're listening to the audio version right now, and for sure. And then, like I say, if the audio version seems interesting enough on its own, I will include it in the audio podcast. Otherwise, it will be on the YouTube version. All right, Doc. So how have you been? What have you been up to?
All right. Well, in-game, this is our first episode since SWTOR Unite happened, if I'm correct. So even though I've gotten to talk with people about it, it hasn't been part of our episode. So I just wanted to shout out to you, Chill, for being our MVP in the Isaacs fight and being our only hope at the end. You know, everyone who's ever had that job of getting to the corner has had that experience. I think I certainly have had the last person left blow up at the end thing happen. It's a really tough way to do it, but that was a new character, and you took it new legacy, level 1 all the way to 70 in the 240 gear range, and it was such a blast. I'm so humbled, and just when I just reflect on how that event went, and I can't imagine it going much better than it did. So I want to say thank you to all the podcasts, all the individuals from the different podcasts who were able to participate. And I really hope that we get to do a Unite Volume 2 sometime down the line when we have a piece of content that it makes sense to bring everyone together again. And then because we didn't finish that, I made a personal goal of mine to get another Isaac's Win on my Twitch channel. And so we went back in last weekend for Death Star Troopers on the Starforge that I run with Marcus and some folks from the AIE Guild. And we did Tithe through Skyva on Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And I had told the Twitterverse that I will hand out 1,000 cartel coins when we kill Isaacs. So we just couldn't fit it into one evening. And we killed Isaacs actually on Monday in one pull, which was a really fulfilling feeling. And I've also been leveling up some tunes and trying to get their crafting organized so that I have my synth weavers and my, the different crafting classes that are important for gear creation. I'm trying to get ready for 5.10.
Cool.
So that I have, because Satil Shan is still a new server for me. I have my main character ready to go, but not much else. There's still a lot of things I'm trying to do. I ran solo Crisis on Umbara a couple times because I need to get my trained stronghold back, and I have to get inside that stupid door again on a different server. So I have to grind out the I don't remember the currency, but there's that currency that opens the door that lets you buy the train from the stronghold vendor, and it's different because the other strongholds you just go to the fleet or go to Rishi and you just say like, hey, I bought this with cartel coins, remember? And it's like, boom, you have it.
Right.
But the train is different because you can't get to the vendor without grinding that flashpoint.
Yes, and if you solo it, it takes quite a number of runs to do it.
Yeah, so you get 6 or 8 of those currency every time you do it. I think it's actually 6. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong.
That seems right.
But you need 60 total, and the weekly cap is 50. So it's a multi-week endeavor too.
Yes.
I'm going to get there. It's not really a high priority goal. It's more something to do when I'm like awake in the morning and there's nothing to do in it, and I really shouldn't be doing work stuff that early because I'm going to be doing work stuff all day. So that's what I've been up to. So I'm finding a lot of fun ways to play SWTOR. It's a little different than a normal week, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. So what's been going on for you in Game Chill?
All right, well, let me do a quick shout out to the chat room first. We've got Agent Iron Spider, Anu, Avenge Maximus, Darksplat, Evan04111, Japeo, Holy Jack 23, Jasetsu, sorry if I'm not pronouncing that badly, Kitty Kisses, Liba's here, hey Liba Roja, and Lopa, Falson, Siskaika, Sir Galahard, Starry Saber, Sinwolf, the Enderboss 508, VNK, and Virgo Praz, hey everyone. All right, I really enjoyed SWTOR Unite just after the last show. We did a lot better than I thought we would. I mean, we actually got all the way to the last boss, which I was not really expecting, even though we were doing story mode. Just the fact that we were all sort of doing it as a group for the first time together. I figured maybe we'd have a chance to get through it or maybe not, but I did not necessarily expect to see the last boss. It was really cool. I really wish I'd known that last fight better because we were actually on the very last bit. And if I had somehow gotten to that... Well, I think I got to the corner, but I was too low in health. I needed like 40,000 health to survive the last burst. If I'd known that, I would have... I was focusing mostly on getting to the corner. But if I'd known that if I'd known that I didn't need to just be in the corner, but I needed a little more health, I would have... I think I had a cooldown that I could have bopped. So it's unfortunate. I felt so bad afterwards. But anyway, so we really got close to finishing the whole thing. But it was really, really fun. And it was great talking with all the other podcasters. And they all did a great job. And they were lots of fun. So That was really awesome. So,
Yeah.
let's see. Yeah, and since then, because I had been focusing on that one character and leveling up and gearing him up for so long, and just grinding dailies and everything else for like weeks on end, I wanted to get back to leveling. So I started and technically finished a no companion character. So I did the whole thing with no companion out fighting with me. Just send them out on crew missions. And when they did happen to come back, I made sure they were on passive, so they weren't helping me. I did a Drax Guardian cosplay, so that was kind of fun. Got him all the way to the end of the class story, but it didn't really leave me wanting to do more on that character. So I've started a new Hulk cosplay. So he's Chill Hulk Smash, and this will be with companions. So
Okay.
he's going to be a Marauder in Fury Spec, so that's thematically appropriate, which is also known as Smash Spec sometimes. So
Yeah.
so thematically it works pretty darn well. Obviously, it's a little weird having a Hulk character with lightsabers, but it kind of works because I have a ocean green lightsaber crystal unlocked, and that makes his whole skin glow even more green when I have his lightsabers out. So that's actually a lot of fun. I'm only into Belsavis. I think he's level 20. I already have one called Chill Hulk, which is actually a She-Hulk cosplay. So that name was already taken. So that's why I chose Chill Hulk Smash. But I'm really enjoying him, and I think it's a lot of fun already. And it's been a while since I've done the Sith Warrior story, so there's definitely a lot of details that I can't remember or haven't, are coming back to me as I see them. It's a lot of fun. So, yeah, so let's get on to the tip of the week. We actually have 3 of them this week. Tip 1 is from Sinwolf, and Sinwolf, who is in the chat, writes, "When is a wall not just a wall? When that wall comes from the new Marshall vendor. While putting up some decorations in Manon Stronghold, I noticed that the wall hook was capable of receiving the Gormak, Imperial, Military, and Rebellion barricades. Lesson learned. Maybe I need to pay more attention to the hooks for each decoration. Have fun all." Nice. Tip 2 is from Medulla. And Medulla writes, "Hey fellas, with 5.10 looming, one of the things I recommend is holding on to any tier 4 command boxes you earn until it drops. We know that at least the 252 tier gear has a small chance of dropping from tier 4 boxes, so hold on to them now to have some lottery tickets when 5.10 drops. Boomba." So that'll be nice. Thank you, Medulla. And I'm sure there are quite a number of people who have been saving those up. But yeah, we'll see what happens when that comes around. It's coming up pretty soon. We're almost to December now. So, all right. We've got tip 3 is from Crimson, and Crimson says, "Hi there from Crimson. I'm a relatively new listener to your podcast, and I'm hooked. For ages, I've been trying to come up with the tip of the week to send in, so forgive me if this has already been said. My tip is aimed at newer low-level players, new alts, free-to-players, or anyone just looking to make a quick credit. When you loot a security chest, of which I've noticed there are many on the starting planets, you'll often pick up a crafting satchel with one or a few stacks of various crafting materials inside. Now, I used to ignore these, as I was never interested in crafting until recently, and if I ever did accidentally pick one up, I'd only be able to sell it for 1 single credit. But if you first open the satchel and take the stacks of materials from it, then you can sell those stacks for a few hundred credits each. Just a little tip that I regretfully only just realized. But when you're on a new character, every credit helps." So
That's true.
yes, it's true. Yeah, it's unfortunate that certain things they make, like you can't sell them to the vendor at all. It kind of makes you open them, but those are not one of them. You actually do have to open them up to prevent the 1 credit sale from going through. There's a similar thing, I think, with the lockboxes you get from the lockbox crew skills from treasure hunting. And unfortunately, you can sell those for 1 credit as well, but even by accident. But if you open it up, then you get gear, and it's worth a heck of a lot more. So yeah, that's a good good tip. So There we go. By random allotment, the winner is number 2, Medulla. So congratulations, Medulla. You're the winner of the Tonfon or M83R Droid Pet Code, courtesy of BioWare, and a new OotiniCast provided Cartel Market Pack from the latest shipment. If you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show. And that will bring us to the Jedi Mind Trap. Doc?
All right, great. So, congrats, Medulla, on the tip. I actually started following that one this week. It's something I hadn't thought of until I got the email. So just before I jump into the Mind Trap, wanted to say that it's very smart since BioWare told us what direction the loot boxes are going. So with this question, I was looking over the different questions in the Motivation to Play Online Games questionnaire, which was developed by Nick Yee, and he's the person who created the World of Warcraft questionnaire that I was able to use on SWTOR during my dissertation. And the idea of that questionnaire is what motivates us to play games that are like World of Warcraft. And there are several questions that I was reading and trying to think, what do I want to ask this week? And I thought, well, last time I asked a question like this, I don't remember including crafting and really focusing on the activity of the player working on their tune. I focused more on what the tune is doing. Mm-hmm. So for this one, I was just, what is priority number 1 behind a new tune? And especially with us on the verge of 5.10, I think this is really important because crafting looks like it's going to be much more important than it has been, unless you're into the crafting game of, GTNing and getting credits from other players that way. There actually is going to be a utility that impacts your character's power, and not utility as like a specific utility, just to clarify. It will have utility. Okay. And then, so I was thinking, are you creating a tune just so you have another character to use endgame, to do lockouts on operations or to reach the weekly on PvP or things like that? Do you just create it because you want a character that looks a certain way? So Chill, I think of you when I think of options like that. Like all of your tunes mm-hmm. have a really great coordinated theme and it impacts the way you use them and play them. And it's like that character being transferred into the Star Wars galaxy. And then some people really like doing, like there's 2 different ways to do a planet. You do mm-hmm. all 47 missions with the 29 side missions, and
right,
or you do the 6 class specific missions and get out of there. So I thought that deserves a honorable mention as option C. And then option D, if you want to have a crafting tune, you have to go out of your way to make it happen. You have to go to the fleet and spend your Jawa junk to get the right materials if you want to do it faster. You have to make sure you stop at the gathering nodes when you're leveling on those planets so that you stay at crafting level or ahead. Right. Because that saves you a lot of credits and a lot of time if you stop to scan that plant. So the results didn't really surprise me. Like we've talked many times, customization is a key draw for people playing Star Wars The Old Republic, and it won in a landslide. 59% out of the 88 votes said when you create a tune, you gotta make them look good. We have to have the right weapon, we have to have the right outfit, we have to have the right dye modules, and we have to switch out the boots and the gloves because it clashes. Mm-hmm. We have to do better than the stock costume that BioWare gives us. So, Chill, anything you look at those, when you look at those 4 options, is there anything surprising you, or do you connect with anything in particular?
Yeah, well, you already guessed it correctly for me. I find that great style or look is definitely important for me when I'm doing a new character. I'm definitely finding, especially now that I've got a lot of characters and I've leveled up, several times, that finding something to hook me into a character really does help. And so if I'm doing it as a cosplay character, or if I'm doing it as sort of a light RP character where they're going after a certain flavor for the story or whatever. Coming up with that is very important to me. And I'm finding, like, if I'm somehow not like clicking with the character, it definitely keeps me from wanting to play that character anymore. So yeah, so finding that great style and look is very important. I do level relatively efficiently. For me, I'll do only the class story if I can get away with it. But if I'm falling behind in levels for any reason, then I will start to do the world arc as well until I'm caught up, and then we keep going. So that's sort of how I go. I never do complete most missions. Just
Yeah.
and there are people like, who join my stream all the time, and they're like, yeah, I've got my my level. I just finished Act 1. I'm level 58. That sort of thing.
Right.
Because they're doing every last mission on every planet, and you definitely will you'll be way levels ahead of whatever planet you're on. Everything will be green to you on every planet you visit, for the rest of eternity till you get to the very end game.
Right.
But that's just not how I want to play. So yeah. And as far as crafting goes, I've got enough alts that I pretty much have everything that I really need. And crafting isn't really my focus in the game anyway. I will do it when I need to, but it's definitely not a completionist thing for me. So that's not really my style either. But I totally get it that there are people who just really dig crafting and are way into it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you want to be rich, you kind of need to craft. Unless you want to do it the other way, which is use your own money to buy hyper crates and sell them for in-game currency. But for me personally, I can't convert $50 of real money into even 100 million credits. It feels like not the way I need to live my life, but some people do that, and
Right.
so that's how they choose to enjoy this game, and that's what I'm all about. I love doing questions like this because it lets me have neat interactions with people who play the game differently than me, and some play exactly the same, but more often than not, the SWTOR community surprises me with some perspective that I hadn't thought about. Within seconds today, someone was talking to me about how it's all about character power, that it's not necessarily about end game gear immediately, but it's about having better gear than what it takes to max out how easy it is to face roll the planets. And I just thought, yeah, I mean, there are questions, in the MPOGQ questionnaire that I mentioned where, how important is character power to you? And then it's on a scale of 1 to 5. And so that sort of takes you a different avenue across the different activities in the game, as opposed to, a person answering that with a 5 or a person answering that one with a 2 or a 1. Plays very differently. And that's why it's so fun to, do the podcast and talk with people in the community, because
Right.
it's very easy to sit there in your computer chair with your computer and your tunes and think everyone plays the game this way, and if they don't, they're stupid. And I actually don't see it that way at all, that everyone's valid in the way they play, and it's just about the way you play. What avenues does that open for you to interact with the game BioWare is giving us? So with that being said, Chill, thanks for the time, and let's move along.
Okay, that'll bring us to the holo feed, and a lot of it had to do with the guild leveling and guild perks live stream and some of the details that they updated afterwards. But they did a pretty solid job on the live stream on November 14th, and this is all coming out in 5.10. They did answer a few other questions, sort of not related, at the end, so we'll go over those as well. But we'll just quickly go over the live stream. The conquest changes are going to be new objectives for chapters, Eternal Championship, War Zones, and kills. They're going to remove the defeat guard objectives, which is kind of nice because I don't know, I never really got into those, and I don't think that they were usually a big deal for a lot of people, but although I know some people just sort of, gang up and go after the guards sometimes too. And then there is going to be a bonus for committing to a planetary invasion. So there are going to be some conquest changes as well. And a lot of these are sort of kind of tied into how the guild stuff is going to be changing. The guild management is going to be updated. There's going to be guild inspect, so you can inspect a guild and sort of get details about it. Guild logging, so who's logging into the guild. Guild mail, so you can send out everything at once if you're like a guild leader. Guild banned by legacy, so that you can get rid of like someone who's been griefing your guild. And and it won't matter like if they change their legacy name or anything like that. It'll just ban that account essentially.
Wow.
Yeah. There'll be additional guild member ranks, so it'll be up to 20. They're going to confirm that number, but it's going to be a big jump from where it is now, and that will let you even more finely dice up like what perks each level has. And then PvP challenges. Solo people can do PvP challenges, but guilds, it's kind of geared towards guilds, and guilds are going to be able to challenge a different PvP type as long as you have the required number for that type. So you can, and then includes stuff like Galactic Starfighter. So, and whatever kind of PvP you like, you can actually do it as a guild challenge to some other guild, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
That actually would be fun, especially, of course, there are in fact PvP guilds out there who are mainly focused on PvP, and I'm sure they're going to be all about this, so that's going to be a lot of fun for them.
That opens it up too to potentially have competitive player-run leagues, like a PvP tournaments that are guild oriented, that we could take it upon ourselves, for people who organize PvP events, such as Snave or someone like that, could organize a bracket system where the guilds actually compete and we could crown winners on our own, as opposed to ranked PvP and some seasons being 27 months long. I don't do ranked PvP, but it seems like sometimes the results come in really quick and sometimes the season goes forever and ever. But this sort of gives the player base some power to organize some really neat stuff.
Yeah, and I think it'll tie in rather nicely with the Rishi stronghold, because you can actually do, you can actually organize your own events that way as well, and actually make up your own war zones and do your own tournaments that way as well. So definitely lots of little ways to do PvP challenges that are coming into the game. So the guild leveling system is going to be new. Guilds don't have levels right now. There's really no difference from guild to guild really, except how big is the guild, and that actually gives like a certain amount of extra XP up to a cap. But really, there's other than that, there's really not a whole lot of difference between guilds, except for like I say, how big they are, and then like how wealthy they are, so that sort of thing. But what they're going to be doing now is guild leveling. So guild XP is going to be earned via conquest points. So as you just do your CXP gains, so you'll have to have these will obviously be end-game characters. You'll actually also be gaining guild XP. And they said that the leveling is effectively infinite. They're not just putting a short-term cap on it or anything like that. It'll just keep on going. However, they did also say that a lot of the stuff that you'll get will be relatively early on, so that otherwise only the largest guilds would be able to gain those perks. So the benefits of leveling will include the pace of leveling for guilds will be up. Well, the leveling for guilds is up to a weekly XP cap. So that's one other detail, is like the bigger guilds can't get too far ahead because there is going to be a cap anyway. But in any case, the idea is that you gain a certain amount every week, and I'm sure the bigger guilds will hit the weekly XP cap pretty readily. It sounded like they're making that so that for a smaller guild it'd be sort of a stretch goal, but for a big guild they should be hitting that cap relatively easily. And then there's going to be new bonuses. They come fairly early, but they're part of leveling now. They're not just based on guild size. So up to 15% XP gains, up to 15% reputation gains, and then up to 10% CXP gains. So your command XP is also going to be buffed by being in a guild. However, that's and this is a completely new perk, or benefit of leveling, rather. And the reason I said the word perk is actually because as you level, you're also going to be unlocking perks. So guild perks it's kind of interesting because it's going to be sort of partly through the guild flagship. So the guild flagships are going to go way down in cost. They were looking at 8 million credits starting in 5.10, but the room unlocks are going to be the same. Because they want the rest of it to remain a challenge, but having a guild ship is more important, so they brought down the price of the initial the bridge area, essentially. So once you have the ship, then any room, the extra rooms you unlock give you perk slots, and then each slot can hold some subset of perks. And the perks will cost credits, commendations from reaching guild milestones, and reinforcement modules. And not everything will cost all three of those, but they will cost some combination of those. Perks will cycle in and out, so they will make some perks available. They will then change the perks, so those perks will go, other perks will come. And they did say at one point in the stream that, like, if a perk seemed to be either useless or overpowered, it might go away for a lot longer or even permanently, or when it comes back, it might be at a different value. Right. So they're going to also use that as sort of a way to help balance this thing, since this is all brand new to them. Core perks, which only cost credits, are going to be more minimal. They're going to be available at all times. But there will be a certain other subset of perks that are going to be more beefy, and those will be the ones that cycle in and out and also cost not just credits, but also guild milestone commendations and reinforcement modules. So they're going to be looking at balancing them, and it sounded like a lot of it's going to be stuff like doing extra damage in wars, not so much war zones, but flashpoints. In fact, after this was all over, they did confirm that there really isn't going to be any perk that actually increases your damage in PvP, because they just didn't want that. And I can understand why, because that would obviously be a very powerful, imbalancing thing for PvP. But the idea is that instead, like, if you have that perk for flashpoints, you'll be able to do flashpoints more easily for that week and that sort of thing. Group res they mentioned as a possible one, also and other kinds of passive bonuses. And they didn't want to affect progression PV, so nothing will affect master mode operations. So when they clarified that it was master mode, it sounded like story mode is completely potential for a perk as well. So
wait, so does that mean that when they specifically say this only affects progression in master mode, does that mean you can go into veteran mode ops with these perks and
I wasn't sure. I wasn't clear on that. They specifically talked about master mode, but if there's going to be, for the operations that have some sort of middle ground, what that will look like, or if those perks are available, I don't know. Right. My guess is that they're going to be keeping a close eye on that. So
yeah, it seems like they're in like a nexus between how they conceptualize the importance of those two. Like, I haven't really ever been a master mode ops player, so for me, I'm always interested, how does this affect veteran mode ops?
Right.
And so that's getting left out of a lot of the conversations. So I'm just kind of looking at 5.10 and thinking, what does this even mean for me? So, right. Chill, do we have all the rooms unlocked on our guild ship yet?
I thought we did. I'm pretty sure we did. If not, we must be pretty close. So I would have to ask Deck that.
Yeah. Well, that's a confusing choice, because if you reach your conquest goal for your toon, you essentially have to choose between crafting mats that help your toon get better augments, or the schematic that helps work towards a framework that helps your guild unlock. That's the greater good choice. Like, I accomplished my conquest on this toon for my guild, not for me. And so you're giving operations and the ranked PvP players sort of that choice between, like, do you support yourself or do you support the guild? And so that potentially causes lots of guilds these days to not get the schematics flowing every week because people are choosing the crafting mats.
Okay.
So with no changes going to the process of room unlocks, and room unlocks being so important for this new set of features to get into the game to start affecting the play of the guilds,
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder how long they're going to be able to have that initial decision in place of, we're only making the guild ship cheaper in credits. We're not touching schematics and frameworks, and we're not touching how people earn those. And, I feel like there's going to be a little bit more of an adjustment that needs to happen in order for the desired change to happen in game.
Right. Cool. And they're confirming that there's only a couple of rooms unlocked on our guilds, actually. So we have a long ways to go. So.
Okay. Well, then maybe we have to have a faction of people in the guild who meet Conquest every week and do not care about their augment levels and just want the guild rooms.
Right.
And we can give them a special rank, Unlocker of Rooms. No, Master of Unlocking for those Resident Evil fans out there. Can we make that a thing?
I don't know. There are going to be more. There's going to be the 20 different levels of members, so maybe you can rename some of them or something.
Yep, that's the only reason we got more rank levels confirmed.
Right.
For those room unlockers.
Yeah. So let's see. They did answer some slightly more open-ended questions at the end, although some of them, a lot of them actually did end up revolving around guilds. One question was, are free-to-play players able to get guild perks? And they thought that, they believe they would. So if you're free-to-play and you're able to join a guild, then you should be able to get the guild perks. Let's see. And then there's they did mention something about, like, there's going to be a guild group that's going to increase, what you get from completing things. But what constitutes a guild group, they weren't sure. So does everyone in the group, like, and if you're in a flashpoint or an operation, does everyone have to be in the same guild? They weren't sure, so they're gonna try to figure that out. They did ask about the guild calendar, which is something that's sort of come up multiple times over the years, and they said it hasn't quite fit in, but they have talked about it for a long time. So that's still sort of in there as an option, but they haven't. It sounds like it's not really being worked on currently.
Yeah.
And then, will guild perks be important if you mostly play solo? They said, well, it will definitely have quality of life improvements, but it'll never be necessary. So what they want is to nudge people towards being in a guild, but they never want it so that they have to rebalance the whole game around being in a guild versus being out of a guild. So that's what they're wanting and along those same lines, the desire for balance is that small guilds will be able to hit their small yield goal regularly, and they'll be able to put perks in all of their slots. So, so it is sort of a balance that they're going to be looking to do, where being in a guild will be helpful, but it won't be absolutely necessary. And similarly, like small guilds versus large guilds, they want the small guilds to be able, as long as they're hitting their small yield goal, they'll be able to get perks in their slots that they have available. Their question was also asked, can the larger guilds be banned from going for low yield planets? And it sounded like basically no. The problem with this is that you can have a lot of characters in a guild, but not a lot of players if it's very alt heavy. So you can end up with like guilds that look very large, but if there's not a ton of players involved, it's really essentially like a small guild, and that might so they have a hard time. They've looked at that before, it sounds like, but they're not looking at actually banning the guilds of any one size from going for like the lower yield planets.
So that question's being asked because there's some value to being on the leaderboard, correct?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they could probably do it. They just have to put a filter that sees the number of tunes that have signed in the last 30 days. And if you have over 500, then maybe you should not be going for the 200,000 level on the conquest. Or I guess it's 180,000 now. But that's an extra thing to program in. And don't we want, 5.10 to be about OSIS and content as opposed to silly little login rules? So I would always prioritize them making a daily mission work correctly over something like that,
Right.
especially if they have to choose, based on the number of people who are putting these patches together. So, and the PTS and all that.
Right. And after they did the live stream, there were some further information put out by Eric and sort of clarifying some of these points. For example, the XP and command XP and reputation gains are going to be set at 5% for XP, 5% for reputation, and 0% for command XP at the beginning, and then they will steadily increase until they cap at 15% for XP, 15% for rep, and 10% for command XP. And so that's how that's going to work. It's a little bit like it works now as in terms of size, where you start with 5% XP gain, that goes up to 10% as the guild becomes larger, but that's going to go away, and it's going to be instead based on the guild level once 5.10 hits. And again, that's going to start at 5, 5, and 0 for CXP. It'll go up to 15, 15, and then 10% for CXP. Also, at different guild level breakpoints, the guilds will qualify to purchase higher tiers of guild perks. So there's going to be like tiers of perks, which makes sense. So I'm sure they're going to look very similar. My guess is they're going to look very similar. It'll be a higher percent gain, that sort of thing. So they wanted to add a whole new set of incentives for players to be part of a guild. SWTOR is a social game at its core, and they want to do all they can to encourage people to play together. However, they also understand that many players like to play with just their small circles of friends in small guilds, so the system needed to work for everyone. Second, one of the goals for Conquest was to work as a system to incentivize players to be rewarded for playing any and all content in SWTOR by tying Conquest and guild leveling together. It means by simply playing the game, you'll be earning guild XP for your guild. Whether you want that to be the focus of your guild to level as fast as possible, or just let it happen, you should be gaining guild levels as you play. So that is the whole point. I must say, though, if your guild is centered around leveling, that's going to be a little harder, because if this is all based on, sort of CXP stuff, then if the focus of the guild happens to be leveling, then you're just not going to get very many CXP points in general as a guild. Although I'm sure there's any guild is going to have at least some.
By creating this system, though, maybe more people will sign in and try to get that conquest goal, because they'll view it as an investment in their legacy, their roster of tunes becoming better. Those perks probably affect at least one area of content that you enjoy doing. And so, even if it's something like infinite rocket boost, which that needs to be a thing. Like, why is that not a thing? Let's make it a guild perk, so that we never have to use our feet again.
Right. As long as you're out of combat, you can be rocket boosting.
Right. I will do 5 tunes a week, BioWare, if you make that a permanent guild perk that we can acquire at a certain level.
Right. Okay. They also gave some key breakpoints as far as the guild levels. The guild level 6 is when guild reaches 10% bonus XP and reputation gains. To level 12, the guild starts to qualify for tier 2 guild perks. At level 32, so quite a bit higher than 12, at level 32, the guild qualifies for tier 3 guild perks. And at level 40, the guild will have capped XP and reputation gains at the 15% bonus. At level 49, the guild will qualify for tier 4 guild perks. At level 51, the guild will have capped the CXP gains, so the command XP gains, at a 10% bonus. At level 64, the guild qualifies for tier 5 guild perks, which is the current highest tier. At level 65 plus, the guild will continue to earn guild commentations, but there is no gameplay benefit beyond level 64. There will be cosmetic rewards that may be introduced in later patches tied to heraldry that will take the guild level into account. So if you get your guild leveled up to 64, that is where the gameplay perks end, which is it sounds like that's going to be quite a while before pretty much any guild hits that. That's gonna take a good amount of time.
I think they just wanted another grind chill.
Exactly.
And also, I kind of wish that command levels did not cap at 300. Like, why can that not be an infinitely progressing number?
Right. Because technically it just kind of cycles around at 300 and gives you a new box every once in a while anyway. Yeah. So it's almost like gaining a level, only you just don't see the number go up.
Right, so. Especially since they either need to change the name of that leveling system when 6.0 happens, or they're going to have to change something about it, because we can't just have an expansion happen and we're all acquiring that top tier gear because we played a lot in the previous expansion. Right. I don't know. So I guess, are we going to talk about masterwork gear tonight, Chill? Is that on our list, the 252 and 258 gear?
There's a little bit of information on that, so we'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay. I'll hold my thoughts then.
Okay. Let's see. Look at the next bit here that looks here. They've been looking at doing all sorts of little changes to the conquest. So, but because these are sort of like still being tested and so on, I'm kind of not necessarily looking to talk about every last little one. Let's see. Reinforcement modules. Credits must be spent from the guild bank, so this is a good mechanism to get everyone contributing to the cause. The guild commendations are earned in a couple of ways. When your guild levels up, you get 5 to 10 per level, and then when or if your guild reaches an invasion yield target, you get commendations as well. So small yield is 70 commendations, medium is 80, and large is 90. So not a huge amount of difference there, actually, from small to large. So that's interesting that they kept that rather tight. Reinforcement modules is a new blueprint which players acquire by combining 10 reinforcement components. Reinforcement components are a bind-on pickup crafting material which is acquired in a couple of ways: as a part of completing your weekly yield target, and a rare chance to acquire during harvesting if you have the Harvesting Yield 1, 2, 3 guild perk equipped. So that's a guild perk that's going to be coming. Can be earned by completing specific heroic missions on Osis if players are in a guild group with the Osis reinforcement perk active. So that's another perk, is going to be specific to Osis. That's kind of interesting. Once a player has 10 components, they simply right-click on them to combine it into a reinforcement module, which they can then donate to the guild.
That sounds so complicated, still.
It kind of does. There's a lot of moving parts here. Let's see. Perks are purchased directly via their perk nodes. It sounds like this will have to be done by like leaders of the guild only. Perk nodes exist as a new user interface on your guild flagship. And I should pause for a moment because guild flagships are required to use perks. As a part of that requirement, they understand that the cost will be prohibitive to some guilds, and so in 5.10 their cost will be lowered from 50 million all the way down to 15 million, 15 million. You'll be able to slot perks based on your flagship room unlocks, up to 6 perks. Each node is assigned to a specific room, and that room must be unlocked to assign its respective perk. Basically, each perk has a node, which is a room requirement, and as a reminder, the bridge is unlocked by default with the guild ship purchase. So the nodes are the bridge, which is the one you get when you first unlock the guild ship, is 2 nodes. And then there's 1 node each for the forward command room, the starboard command room, the port command room, and the engine room. In the interface, you will click the node, which will give you a pop-up where you can purchase and apply the chosen perk, assuming that you meet the requirements, and then you pay the cost. Perk details. The perks themselves have a variety of statistics that you'll want to be aware of before purchasing. So let's give some examples of perks and talk about each of its components. Summon Guild Bank. Interesting, okay. Grants activated ability to summon the Guild Bank for the player with a duration of 3 minutes and a cooldown of 15 minutes. The perk duration is 28 days. It's tier 1. And the cost is no guild commendations, but it does cost 900,000 credits. And that room happens to be in the forward command room. Set Fortune. I'm not sure what the set is yet. It's not clear to me what that means. But apparently there's different sets of perks as well. The perk is purchased and applied to the forward command room node for 900,000 credits. There is no commendation or reinforcement module cost. It is tier 1, so your guild can purchase it at any level. Once applied, this perk will last for 28 days unless your guild replaces it. On the 28-day mark, the perk will expire and then no longer function. And then that way everyone in the guild will have the ability to summon access to the guild bank out in the field for 3 minutes. And then once activated, the ability will go on cooldown for 15 minutes. So that makes sense, because that's pretty much exactly what the description said.
Chill. Did you say that it costs 900,000 to buy that perk and it lasts for 28 days?
Yes.
Is that going to be more or less how most of the perks work? That we're going to have to be spending millions of credits every week to keep our guild operating with these benefits?
Yes, or right. Or if 28 days, then at least, yes, every month. Sounds like.
So we're going to have players who are dedicated to unlocking rooms. We're going to have another rank for people who are fortunate enough to not need to have jobs in the adult world, and they can just do heroics all day to get those credits. and we will call them the I don't know what we'll call them. It sounds bad having a perky title, but they're helping our group have perks.
Right.
So
Perkmeister.
There we go. And so this whole scheme is our chat is amazing, by the way. This whole plan by BioWare to make the guild ships matter and have perks, it kind of gravitates around the idea that people play this game a lot.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. And then there is some more information on the sets, which I was saying I didn't have enough information on. This perk is part of the Fortune set. There will be 5 guild perk sets at launch, and this adds an extra layer of choice when placing your perks. Do you want your guild to want to go after a set bonus, or do you just prefer to get the 5 best perks? So it's up to you. Since they use the Fortune in the example above, here is Fortune's current set bonus, which is acquired by slotting 4 Fortune perks. If you get the 4 Fortune perks, the set bonus is 1. Increase critical chance by 5% in operations and flashpoints, and 2. Increase efficiency and critical chance for all professions by 2%. So there you go. It's just like doing armor sets. Only in this case, it's what perks you get. So there's a Fortune set, and apparently there are at launch there will be 4 other guild perk sets. So we don't know what they are at this moment, but they do have some information. There'll be information on that, I'm sure, soon.
Yeah.
There are also two. Gosh, this keeps going. There are also two types of perks: core and cycling. Core perks, such as the Summon Guild Bank, typically only cost credits and are always available. Cycling perks are typically more powerful with higher requirements and are only available for a limited time. Well, we kind of went over that. The current plan is that they will cycle every couple of weeks or so. This will give a lot of flexibility in being able to introduce special, powerful, limited time perks. There you go. So if you do have all your different slots open, if you have the 5 slots open, if it only takes 4 for the fortune set, that still leaves you one other one to just sort of choose in terms of like whatever you think will be best. So,
if you can't explain this entire system in an episode of a podcast without going into overtime, it might be too complicated. That's
it's a lot. That's
what I'm feeling right this moment. Is like, wow, it's expensive. It's confusing. I'm sure once we see the menus and stuff, and we realize that Decion just has to do all of this for us.
That's one of the points I was going to make is there's a subset of players who are going to have to deal with this, and that are the guild leaders.
Yeah.
If you're just running around in a guild, but you're not one of the guild leaders, you don't really have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Your character just ends up walking through walls one day, and it's like, oh, guild perk, nice. Meanwhile, someone else grinded 8 million credits so you could have that for 2 weeks. Fun stuff. This is why we play SWTOR, right, Chill?
That's right. There are some bolster plans coming up for 5.10 in December. And they did alter it. They were looking at bolstering up to 248 in 5.10, but they then changed it to 252. So, as they say, as Eric writes, whenever we introduce new gear to the game, there's inevitable conversation about what changes will be made to bolster. The original intention in 5.10 was to take bolster and move it to 248. The thread, along with the rest of the forums, led to a lot of great feedback from you on how you feel about the state of bolster, whether it should be higher or lower, etc. And then they sat down and really looked at what they want from bolster now and going forward, and they're going to make an additional change. So let's talk about why we originally landed on 248, where we're going next, and why. Simply put, in order to make Master Mode Gods from the Machine as terrifying as it should be, we needed to have a larger item rating jump than usual for our new gear. As many of you likely know, typically a new tier of gear means a 6 item rating differential. In this case, we wanted to balance it against a higher target. We opted to introduce 2 item ratings of growth, 252 and 258, as part of a single tier. Historically, we have moved bolster to be equal to the previous tier's best in slot item rating. In this case, that would make it 248, which is what they originally chose. However, since this tier jump was different, it also meant that we couldn't be 100% consistent. By choosing 248, it means there was a 10 item rating differential, where normally this is only a 6 rating difference. Even though this is a 1-tier jump, it actually creates a larger tier rating differential than there usually is. To address this, they're going to be increasing bolster, which is a PvP thing, in game update 5.10. Well, I think it's mostly PvP. 5.10 to item rating 252. So instead of 248. As a reminder, we're not only adjusting bolster on gear, but also on augments. We are increasing augment bolster from 208 to 236. This will additionally help in closing the gap between best in slot players and those being bolstered. Bolster beyond 5.10. A number of players have brought up the idea of having bolster be at the highest item rating available, and this has been a suggestion basically even since pre-launch. There's a lot of people who focus on PvP, especially, who just would love to everything to be at the highest level. This would effectively make gear in PvP irrelevant, where skill is the only deciding factor. Although we understand the desire from players on that side of the debate, it does introduce some issues. If there is no gear chase from PvP, it removes all progression from PvP gameplay, and it also removes part of the reward structure. However, we do know that there's been unhappiness with PvP gearing in general in the 5.0 era, especially with the removal of expertise. To make large itemization changes to PvP like that will require an equally large update. So this is the type of issue we will have to wait until there's an expansion size update to tackle. We'll consider a variety of options, including reintroducing PvP-specific stats and gear, bolster changes, and so on. And we will make sure to talk through plan changes with all of you when we get to that point. So, yeah, so bolster, it sounds like they essentially want to make it equivalent to where it has been in the past. Interestingly, that actually makes it slightly better than like some of the new gear you'll be able to get. So there you go.
Well, I know in past expansions for me, I stayed pretty much away from PvP because I didn't have the gear, and I'm much more interested personally in getting better in the PvE content with me and, you know, my wife, our raid team friends, and stuff like that. So even if it's the featured event for the day, if I need special gear to do it, I'm just going to stay away or maybe not play that day of the week as much. So you can't make everybody happy. It really just comes down to, is BioWare happy with the way PvP is functioning? So people who love PvP, are they playing it? If the answer to that is yes, no matter how much you like expertise as a stat, you know, they don't have much motivation to change it because you're still playing the event. So it's really tough for them to figure out what the right thing is to do, because their logistics about how the game is functioning right now probably indicate that people like PvP. You know, we have a new map, so that right there boosts, you know, new Hutball map boosts the engagement in PvP. So you can be upset about changes and bolster and all you want, but your upsettedness is not changing the amount that people play. And so the data suggests that PvP is great right now. So, you know, that's the unfortunate, you know, I'm sure all of us, you know, have had parallels in our life where it seems common sense, like we need to change this thing. And because the data says, well, no, people are still buying that product, you know, so we don't have to change it. It would cost too much to change it. So they don't change it, even though your common sense is angry as you consume the product for the next couple years. You know, that's how the world works. So bolster for the win.
Right. All right. Yeah, there's also more information on exactly how we're going to be getting the gear. Then there has been changed from some of the early PTS stuff. So yeah, the Masterwork gears is in this case for this post that Eric did, referring to both 252 and 258 item rating gear being introduced in 5.10. There's some things that they wanted to address. Getting Masterwork gear solely from PvP was more difficult than they would like. The implementation encouraged working directly to 258 while skipping 252. We don't have a problem with this, but it made getting any gear upgrades more challenging and expensive than desired. By stair-stepping up to 252 and then 258, there can be constant progression that isn't as expensive as jumping straight to the best in slot. They needed more opportunities for players to get Masterwork data crystals and gear overall, and also players had no long-term value in getting 252 since they could not be upgraded to 258. So then there was a reminder that 258 gear can be crafted by gathering materials from a variety of sources, including Master Mode gods from the machine. This ensures that the new Master Mode in 5.10 is a very valuable source for progression operation players. Outside of crafting, there are two ways of acquiring Masterwork gear: by turning in Masterwork data crystals to a vendor for 252 or 258 gear, or by receiving 252 gear directly. And so some of the ways of getting these include, let's see, on Osus, 252 gear requires Osus reputation rank between outsider and hero. You get this from, you know, the reputation vendors, and it's between outsider and hero rank depending on gear the gear piece that you're talking about. Each of those pieces of 252 costs 2 Masterwork data crystals. The 258 gear from reputation vendors requires an OSIS reputation rank of either champion or legend, depending on the gear piece, and each piece costs either 3 or 4 Masterwork data crystals, and it also takes a matching piece of 252 gear. So there is now a reason to have some 252 gear. The ways that you can acquire Masterwork data crystals includes a mission to defeat both world bosses. This is on OSIS. Or earn 50 group ranked arena points. So ranked arena is going to be an interesting source of Masterwork data crystals. You can also get a crystal from a new rotating weekly mission, which it has a 50-50 chance of being either a PvE or PvP mission. And there's also a rare chance of Masterwork data crystals dropping out of command crates that are tier 3 and up. And also 1 to 2 crystals can be gotten by turning in unassembled components. So that's how you would get those crystals. The 252 gear drops, there are a couple places where you can outright acquire 252 gear. The weekly of the daily area OSIS will allow you to choose one of the 3 artifact lockboxes, lower body, tech, or upper body. And once you're in Tier 3 of Galactic Command, there's a chance that an artifact lockbox containing 1 random 252 piece can drop from command crates. And additional changes, there are some other changes to help support Masterwork gear, mostly targeted at PvPers. They increase the current 252 disintegration rates from where it was on the PTS. 252 gear will disintegrate into 175 unassembled components in 5.10. Up from 9 to 45. And to help PvPers get the required reputation for the Masterwork data crystal vendors, they're adding rep rewards to the ranked PvP missions. So again, kind of aiming towards ranked, which is kind of interesting. We haven't seen a lot of focus on ranked missions, but they certainly are doing it this time. So the TLDR is, if a player simply does 2 weekly missions of their chosen playstyle, they'll be able to acquire a minimum of 2 252 pieces per week, or upgrade 1 252 piece to 258. This does not include crossing over into both PvP and PvE, or any Masterwork data crystals or drops from command crates, or purchasing any crafted versions of the gear, all of which can speed up your acquisition rates. So, kind of cool. So there we go. Any thoughts on that, Dr. SWTOR?
Well, I think it's nice that they have such an elaborate plan for how people are going to get these materials.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I'm sad about, which, they should not change their structure just because I'm sad, but it seems like the reliable ways of getting these materials are by doing things I don't enjoy doing. And then the things that I do make the time to do in my gameplay every week, it's really up to the RNG gods. So, that is what it is. I wonder how, Master Mode Gods from the Machine is so important.
Mm-hmm.
It's the linchpin of this entire update. And I wonder how many players in game are going to find the level of success to really have a reliable experience with the 5.10 system. Because it seems to me like it's a reciprocal prereq, meaning you need to have the stuff you're getting as the reward in order to do the thing. Maybe that's the perspective of a player who's not as skilled as he wishes he could be, which would be me. But it just seems like if you're beating Master Mode Gods from the Machine to get this stuff, you don't need it.
Mm.
So in terms of progression, I know gear is, the game companies, they think they understand gear is the best motivator of in-game behavior. But at some point, do you need it if you're doing the thing that you need it in order to do?
Right.
It's that whole philosophy of, some people are incredibly savvy. They want to work in a field where all they need to do is finish high school, or maybe not even, and so they just do that. They don't do college because that's a waste of time. and you just do the thing and earn the dollars, versus like the traditional mindset is go and grind and grind and grind and grind and eventually make peanuts. So, it's sort of like we're operating with that mentality, but really the people who have the skill already to actually succeed at that thing don't need your grind.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always going to be my soapbox. I think that's just the view of progression in the core philosophy of this game, is to reward the people who already can do the thing. We'll see. There's always the loot boxes for the command ranks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, and the one last detail here before we move on is one little detail that that Eric mentioned during the live stream was that when you begin the storyline for the OSIS, which is the 5.10 update, any alliance alerts that you hadn't completed on that character would be auto-completed, but that they would give more details later, and he did give some more details. Their plans have changed pretty significantly. The short version is when starting the first new storyline in update 5.10, the light side Arkan Alliance alert will be auto-completed if it hasn't been completed already. No other Alliance alerts will be auto-completed. The reason they picked out Arkan was because of the romance option. Since Alliance alerts aren't generally required to be finished before moving forward in a main storyline, it would hypothetically be possible to have Arkan's Alliance alert sitting on a character for years before completing it, and potentially choosing to start a romance with him. To prevent this from causing issues with future romances, BioWare needs to know that you can no longer begin a romance with Arkan via that mission once a character has begun the storyline in 5.10. So, for similar reasons, going forward, starting new romances with certain returning class companion characters may preclude resuming a romance with other returning class companion characters. For example, choosing to begin a romance with Nadia in Update 5.10 would preclude you from resuming an existing romance with Felix Arreso if you hadn't already done so via his Alliance alert. You will always get a warning confirmation on choices like this. And outside of Alliance alerts, beginning in the first storyline in 5.10 will still autocomplete all other storylines. So the Alliance alerts are those little ones that have to do with usually getting a particular companion or whatever, something like that. But as far as Kotfi and Kotet chapters, if you haven't done those are going to autocomplete. Arkan is the only Alliance alert that will autocomplete, but any or all Kotfi and Kotet chapters will autocomplete. As with Kotfi, the general guideline for what choices are set by default, and that's that Republic characters are assumed to make mostly light side choices, Imperial characters are assumed to make the more dark side choices. And then they actually give all the little details, which we don't necessarily need to do. You can find it on the forums if you're really interested. But basically that it basically follows that line, with the exception that if a dark side choice would kill someone who might join you as a companion, then that choice is not taken, and they actually do join you as a companion. And for obvious reasons, if they killed off if they killed off a bunch of potential companions, that simply takes future options away from players without them actually having direct input into that choice. So there you go. You'll be dark side mostly, but you will, like, for example, you will say you will not kill Arkan at the if you get a chance to do that in Kotfi Kotet, that sort of thing. And then finally, one little bit of feedback that he gave on the OSIS daily missions. There will be Heroic 2+ missions on OSIS. There will also be one Heroic 4 mission. And the plan is not to force anyone to play the Heroic 4 mission to complete things, but it is to provide an option for people who do want to play group content. There will be soloable Heroic 2 missions, however. The Heroics are not a part of the dailies or weeklies that give Masterwork shards, so playing the Heroics is not needed to obtain the higher tiers of gear. There is a weekly Heroic mission that will require players to complete 3 Heroics in a week, but the players are free to choose whichever Heroics they want to complete. You can, in fact, complete the same Heroic mission 3 times in 3 days to complete the weekly Heroic mission. So there you go.
I have a question, Chill. So Osis is going to be the one place in the entire game where heroic means what it meant in the 1.0, 2.0 era, where you actually needed people with you.
It sounds like, yeah, yeah. Where like the heroic twos are going to be sort of vaguely soloable, and the heroic fours are genuinely designed to be not soloable. Yes.
But that changes what the word heroic means.
Kind of.
Right? Like, it's the whole, Eric Musko saying Nightmare Ops when it's Master Mode and Veteran Mode. I actually had this conversation with my wife the other day. She did a Flashpoint with some of our Utini raid group on Wednesday. I had to sign out to work on some other things, but she was telling me they did a Flashpoint. I was like, what difficulty did you do? And she was like, the middle one. I was like, well, okay, so you did veteran mode. She's like, no, because we're used to doing ops, and veteran mode means hard mode. And I was like, oh, okay, so you did master mode. And I was like, you were able to do this such and such mechanic? And then she's like, no, there was no such and such mechanic. So you're doing veteran mode. No, we didn't do hard mode. I was like, no, hard mode in Flashpoints is master mode. Master mode in operations is nightmare. Veteran mode in operations is hard mode. Story mode in Flashpoints is soloable. So story mode in ops is 8-person group, but way less mechanics and no damage. Oh, got it. But in uprisings, story and veteran and master means the same that it does in operations. For those people who enjoy doing the uprisings. Mm-hmm. So we're at when you're going to use a word, it should mean the same thing that it already means. That's just my opinion.
Right. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
And if you
That's a good point too.
If you thought that was confusing, no, I'm not going to ask people to send messages to BioWare, but it's confusing. That's my whole point, is having heroics on one planet that are skewed in difficulty because you want to have some tough stuff on that new planet, when you have made the game so casual friendly that heroic does not mean that anywhere else in the game. I just find that to be a confusing choice.
Right.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, that'll bring us to the force feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And we had a tweet from Nefram, and Nefram wrote, I think Thanavesh is getting force choke did more damage than originally thought. And then there's a screenshot. And there is definitely a bug in there somewhere, because the head is just completely moved off to the side and stretched out. It looks a little bit like the at the end of T2 when the T1000 gets split in half by the grenade. Yeah, I've never seen that particular bug, but yeah, that's classic. That's very much a video game bug that you see sometimes.
Yeah.
There's we got an email from Anuj from FeedSpot, and they put us in as FeedSpot as one of the top 25 Star Wars podcasts on the web. Woo-hoo. So, yay! So there you go. If you're interested in learning about other Star Wars podcasts that they call the top 25 and they recommend, that's blog.feedspot.com/star_wars_podcasts. There you go. So thank you, Anuj, and thank you, FeedSpot. And finally, Deltia, aka Jacob, wrote, "Hello, Teeny. Wanted to send a quick email. Thank you for your continued coverage and enthusiasm for the game. I come in and out of the game, but one consistent thing is your constant reporting on the SWTOR. Years after launch, you still have the positivity and honesty I crave in the gaming community. That SWTOR itch needs a scratching, and I always fire up OotiniCast to catch me up on the game. And P.S. I'd love to have Dr. SWTOR's presentation on loot crates when that becomes available." And do you have that yet for Delcia and for the rest of us, Dr. SWTOR, or is that still not available quite yet?
Okay, so eventually there will be a version of that is it was filmed with the camera crew by the Florida Council on Compulsive Gambling. and they're going to be finishing that up, and it should be on YouTube or Vimeo or something like that. And that's going to be sort of packaged by them as sort of a gambling education module.
Okay.
They will give me access to it. I know the people who are interested in hearing Dr. SWTOR talk about that maybe would benefit from an alternate version where I'm connecting the gambling aspect more to what we experience as players of video games.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be something that I put on my Twitch channel as like the alternate gaming focused version.
Sure. So you're saying that the official one that you did a couple of weekends ago might not be freely available? I mean, you mentioned YouTube, but it sounded like also like it was going to be more private than that.
Yeah, so I'll have access to it, and I could distribute the link. So the reason I'm explaining it in such detail is that it could be possible for me to create a version of it that appeals more to people who play SWTOR.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
And then just deliver it to us directly, because it's my presentation, and I would just have to alter some things that maybe I wouldn't want to talk for the same number of minutes to people who already understand how MMOs work.
Okay.
So
cool.
that's something I'm thinking about too. Is because if you watch it through them, it was filmed for their purpose, and it's about educating people about problem gambling, and how video games sneak this stuff in there as very we have loot boxes in RNG. And different aspects of our game linked to our debit cards and credit card accounts because of the psychology of gambling. And so that is a prominent part of the presentation. But I think that I can describe some of the slides in a way that makes more sense for SWTOR players.
Okay.
And also, the fiscal year for nonprofit organizations is usually July 1st to June 30th. So we could have quite a bit of months of still waiting for that project to be wrapped up, because they have all of their stuff spread out throughout the entire calendar year. So it's in post, and what that means, I'm not exactly sure in specifics.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, then. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to be doing an operation. We're going to get that together. And then either I will take the audio, I'll decide whether it will fit into the podcast format. And when we put out the audio version of the podcast, I'll either include it here or not. But either way, I want to do an outro. Dr. SWTOR and I will then be able to stop our Audacity but then we'll get going on the actual raid. So I'm going to keep going as far as the stream goes. So let me go ahead and do the outro. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live bi-weekly on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you, Dr. SWTOR.
Enjoy the game, everyone.
And we'll see you next time. All right, so I will need a little break to hit the restroom, I think, before we go. But let's go ahead and do. I'm leaving everything rolling, the stream especially. But if you can hover over your Audacity.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah, because
okay.
any audio from here out, we're going to pretty much be doing on Discord. So.
Okay, cool. So
and I'm
hovering on stop.
Yeah, so 3, 2, 1, stop.
Okay.
I'm also going to save mine so that it's not, just in case there's a hiccup of some sort. I want to make sure that it gets saved. And then I'll take a quick break, and when I come back, and I'll log into the game, and we'll get that going.
Okay, so this whole time, Twitch is still live, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, they get a little under the hood sort of thing going on here.
How to podcast.
Hey, Medulla. I use OBS for my streaming software. So it's pretty robust. It's pretty solid, and it's free. And they keep updating it, so it's all good. All right. So I need a quick break. I'll come back. I'll get the actual SWTOR client rolling. I'll fire up Discord and all that at that point. And remind me to help to start recording as well, so that I have an audio track right on my desktop.
Okay.
Well, it'll be audio plus visual, but I should be able to strip out the audio pretty readily. And even as a backup, we'll have the stream. So if I have to, I could the stream / YouTube video version will have the audio as well if we need it. And if not, the podcast will go out just without the section. This will just be for the stream in that case. But I do need a quick break. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Telling you a story. Well, so this week I created a Star Wars crawl for my counseling theories class that introduces them to the class. So it's something they would just watch first day of week 1. But it's the Star Wars crawl about counseling theories. So that was, I'm not singing, guys. It's not happening. All right, let me move my windows around because oh man. Chill left me with the channel, which is pretty cool. That's what we call trust, right? Except now I'm the one juggling all the windows on my computer. So there it is. Okay.
I'm here. You just sent that and I was walking in.
Oh, fun. All right. So Theodosia, Medulla says hi to you.
Hi, Medulla. Can you hear me?
He probably heard that.
Hey, Doc.
Hey. So they asked me to tell a story and sing. I told them there's no way I'm singing, but I'm
going to start, even though it's kind of early and I haven't even gotten in the client yet. I'm just letting you know I'm starting the recording now.
Okay.
Should be able to record and stream at the same time, I think.
Should I record the fight too on my end?
If you like, sure. I mean, as a backup, I'm always happy to have backup.
Okay.
All right, let me get SWTOR rolling. I think I'm going to also turn up the volume in my headphones. I always turn it down for the podcast so it doesn't bleed through, but if I'm going to actually be playing a game, I need to have it back up to somewhere near normal now. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to record it locally then.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm doing as well.
No reason to stream it.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. It should stream just fine from mine on the Utini channel. Let me make sure. Okay. I do need... Shoot. Hang on a sec. Let me see what it shows. Okay. Yeah. Shows that. Get Discord rolling.
I am in Discord already, Chill, I think. Can you guys in Discord hear me? Sweet.
Let's see.
I can't rock it out. I'm a sorcerer.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Let's start an infinite loop. Let's start a Penrose steps of questions.
Have to run this as administrator.
Oh, hello.
Okay, hey everyone. Alright, I'm logging into my operative. Yeah, well that's why I leveled the operative, is because I I was already working on operative anyway.
So Chill.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's a good idea. So Chill, if I hold down Shift, you're gonna double hear me because of the Google Hangout. That's
fine.
Yeah, because that's what's happening to me when you use Discord. But we can survive one boss fight.
I can't hear anybody.
No one's talking right now.
I can hear you.
But my voice was lighting up. Okay.
Alright, so who in my nice list of people?
That is weird, hearing that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stem up, pop a CXP boost.
Yeah, she's in Discord, so she's coming.
Yeah, it's weird.
What's your tune name, Sam? Not in yet. How do you spell it? So does anyone want to volunteer and do the official boss description for the podcast episode? Nice.
Hey Doc.
Yeah.
I found what I'm doing is I went into Discord and I right clicked on you and I muted you so that I can still hear you but not through Discord, so it's not doubling anymore.
What I just heard was so amazing, but I'll do that too.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. It was getting really hard to listen to.
Did that fix it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Great.
you sound normal to me now again, so it's all good. I just have to remember to unmute you. I assume we're doing a guild whatever. A guild summons.
I'm going to do the summons. I got my tune there before the episode.
Cool.
Even though that was unnecessary, the whole crew is here except for a few. Having a dance off to save the galaxy.
I've never gone to McCab, so I can't get there.
I'm going to summon.
Oh,
But
yes, I can.
But I need
Never mind.
Jessica in the group.
It's okay, I found it.
Did you get my invite? Who's the other healer? Tune name? Thank you.
Where is
And
this
Tamara Morrison, that's you, Jace. Jessica, are you able to run around like you're materialized? Okay, summon is incoming. 3, 2, 1. I'm really into this lore master in our group. I was not. I really did mean that, guild summons. Well, get off the orbital station.
Is it okay to run into the operation?
Yes, please do. You are last.
She doesn't, though.
I don't think she has the founder's title, so she's still good. See, I didn't actually ask my friends to play the game back in 2011. There's that too. One of my really good friends played this game for like 7 days. Very disappointing. Are you on McCab? So much for you to trim out of this podcast, Jill. Was it good? Was it an enjoyable hour? Well, there's 2 shuttles.
There you go. Or you can, I'll bet you Stronghold travel works as well.
Can someone exit and give her another summon so that she... All right. Well, I was just trying to get an 8-person group together to do this. We can edit this together and make it sound nice, or we can shame you forever and include all of that. It's really up to Chill.
Do you want me on the main boss, or do you want me on the ads? I have a dot spec. So.
We need to sort of have the left raid frame should be doing one thing and the right raid frame should be doing another thing.
Oh, I'm not right.
I think as a dot spec I should probably be on the boss, because...
Yep. So we got Castiel, Chill Strike, Ezri, and Anello Ta focusing on the boss. And then we have Tamara Morrison, Theodosia, Bad Pam, and Caldon focusing on ads. Does that sound like it'll work? Well, you just tank the boss towards the wall. Would you like to switch with Jace, who I'm sure has killed this boss more often than us? Okay, so just tank him towards the door, and then... Right, when he's about to fire the laser, you get off to the side, right? The tank still does that. Do you have to kill the isotope canister? You do that to clear a debuff, right? Okay, well, does she need to kill one now? Okay, let's raid check. Great, throw us under the bus. Are you... There we go. Leap in. Do you just go jerkadeer, my warriors? Off to the
laser.
Side. Yeah. Yep. So we all just went off to the side. Are we allowed to say things like that on OotiniCast, Chill?
What am I supposed to do with this thing? Okay.
So what we did there is we're getting off to the side so the laser doesn't hit us. I'm on the ad group, so we're in the back killing the ads while the left side of the group stays on the boss. So the main tank, who's played by Castiel, is holding the boss looking towards that door so everyone else can be behind it and not get hit by lasers and cleaves and whatnot. When that alarm starts going off, we all go up the stairs and get behind the you know, these boxes, these crates. That's sort of the barrier that lets you know you're in the safe zone. The laser is not going to hit you. And then the ads come back out. We melt them down. And then we go back to the boss. Oh no, I'm commentating on the Google Hangout.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm just doing my rotation.
Wait, so Chill, if I've already stopped
Laser.
If I've already stopped my recording in...
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I was rolled out and all of a sudden it put me somewhere I wasn't expecting. It was like a hiccup. Thank goodness I had a second roll. Yeah, exactly. Oh, isotope release. Should be like the last laser, right?
Well, we went from 40 to
Whoops.
26.
Radiation leak. Hey.
Good work, everybody. Have we ever killed an ops boss on OotiniCast, Chill?
I think this is a first.
Awesome.
Woot woot.
Inaugural ops win. I mean, if we had the time, we could do it, but I don't think I'm doing that tonight.
There you go.
I mean, that is a 4-hour op, and I don't know if that's by design or what.
Oh, that was a weird effect. All right. I think it. All right, Doc, I'm going to stop the stream and I got to head off, have dinner, and then I'm going to record or edit the podcast.
Awesome. Okay. So I
Thanks
don't
for
know if
coming,
you'll-
everyone. Thanks for the run. That was fun.
All right. Talk to you later, Chill. I can switch over.